Now that I've got the engine ready to go into this Beetle behind me here, it's about time I was able to stop it as well as make it go. So let's have a look at the brakes today. Yeah, I would be putting the engine in if I had gotten the right clutch for it, but I have to pick up the right clutch. So for the moment, it's staying on the floor on the dolly there, and we can worry about other things. Namely, one of the things is the fact that the engine's not even in it, and already the car's leaking oil. So I know Beetles are bad for oil leaks, but that's a bit ridiculous. Straight away you can see it's coming from the gearbox, and this boot here is split. So we're going to have to replace that. And also there's a bit of wetness in behind the wheel here as well. Now whether that's a brake slave cylinder or it's a shaft seal that's leaking, we need to find out. So I'm going to actually start with this wheel first and get this one off. So now we need to get that split pin out. Okay, there's the split pin out. Now we need to remove the hub nut. You're said and done, these things are always stitched. What you can do is you can put a wheel on it and put the weight of the car on the ground. We may end up having to resort to that, but the problem is, the centre cap, center cap does come out of those wheels. So I've taken the centre cap out of the wheel. I'm going to put the wheel back on, put it down on the ground, and undo the hub nut, because it's not going to work any other way really. I mean, it might do that way, but I run the risk of doing damage. Yeah, the annoying thing about these wheels is that you have to take them off to get the centre cap off to get the hub nut. But once you've got the hub nut off, you can actually take the whole wheel and hub assembly off together. So you don't actually need to take the wheel off if you can get the hub nut from the get-go. So let's get it back up on the ramp anyway. That's loose now. So we'll get it up and let's have a look inside and see what's going on here. There we go. There's the hub nut taken off. And the wheel with the brake drum itself should come off all as one assembly, like so. Giving us access to the inside of the brake drum. The brake fluid all over the place. Right. Actually, that is not brake fluid, that is bloody gearbox oil. Need to figure out what's actually been done wrong here. There's something amiss with the rear brake setup on this car. What we need to do first of all is degrease everything. I'm hoping I can save those shoes, but if I can't, we'll just have to put new ones in. But let's degrease first of all and we'll have a look. And that's a big spider, isn't it?
What spider?
There's a spider after putting in an appearance from the brake drum. I think it's fair to say it is moving day. So let's open the window and I'll chuck him out.
Hold on.
No, don't touch him now, okay? Because he could be.
Spider.
No, he's not dead. He moved. There you go.
But he's a good spider.
Well, he can be a good spider outside the garage. I don't want a spider in here. Now, okay, let's stand back there, mister. Good man. Those brake shoes will be absolutely fine. But I can tell now straight away it is it's the shaft seal is leaking, so we're going to need to get a new shaft seal for this. So let's pop that off anyway and see what's involved in it. So we're going to get those 4 bolts out of there, and then we'll see what we're dealing with. Everything here is absolutely saturated with oil. All right. There we go. So now, let's have a look and see what we're dealing with here. So there's our bearing housing with our shaft seal in it. You know what, I'm wondering will we actually just be able to clean this up, because it's actually looking like it may have been replaced before. Let's take this off. See, to me it looks like there's supposed to be a seal around here as well, because I mean there's RTV and everything. Like, I don't think it's necessarily the shaft seal itself that's leaking, but more the actual bearing housing. And if the bearing housing is leaking, sure, you're going to get the same effect, aren't you? So let's clean that all up and see if we can replace the seals and that. What I might do while I'm in here is I'll get a new gasket for this and a new seal, or I might just try and make up a gasket because I have some gasket paper somewhere as well. I'll assess it and I'll come back to you. Right, my inclination is that things just need to be cleaned up and resealed. So, dropping it on the floor won't help. But like, if you look at the ceiling surface there as well, it's not great, like, and inside there as well is all fairly gicky as well. So I'm actually going to get this into the parts washer and give it a good clean up, and I might just try and knock the seal out of it as well, so at least we don't damage that when we're cleaning everything else, and we can clean up the seal, pop it all back together again. I'm going to make up a gasket for that surface there on the actual car itself, i.e. that surface basically, and put it back together. I think we'll be alright. I think we'll actually get away with that. Okay, so I have pretty much confirmed beyond reasonable doubt that the issue was in actual fact with the sealing of this. Part of the issue in actual fact was there is a an oil scavenge port that goes down here, and it's supposed to drain down into there, and that's completely blocked by RTV sealant, which is not exactly ideal really. So we need to free that up. I've already freed it up here, but I need to make sure it's free here as well. And then we're going to make up our new gasket and everything as well, making sure that that port stays free. And we get it all back together again. The seal is absolutely fine, so that's suitably cleaned now. Wire wheel, parts washer, blowgun, bit of electrical contact cleaner I think I used in this instance. So yeah, it will do the trick nicely. Okay, so the bearing housing is all cleaned up, and I have a new gasket made with a layer of Permatex on it as well. So that's going to seal really well there now. First thing we want to do is just pop our shaft shaft rotor, I suppose you could call it there. That's going to go there, and then this is going to go on afterwards. Now you'll see I've made a hole. That is just it's kind of a seal witness drain kind of thing. I suppose it's just to stop the oil from draining away from the from draining into the brakes. Okay, so there we go. So that's in place now. I'm confident that's going to seal now. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our bolts in, tighten them up, and we're going to call that a win. I think I might just give the bolts a clean though, first of all. Alright, so just looking at the exploded diagram, obviously this gasket number 20 here is the bit we were missing, but the other bit as well I noticed, number 9 and number 7 are 2 O-rings, and I don't recall seeing them either, so I'm wondering were they left out as well. I'm going to have a look on this side and see if they're in there, and if not, I'm going to just end up having to disassemble the bearing housing on the far side. I mean, obviously I don't mind doing that because I want this to be right. The bolts aren't particularly tight either, which is the other thing. Cannot be helping the situation. And there's 2 washers on that one as well. Right, so let's put them aside and take off our bearing housing here. We need a pry bar because it's wedged on raw TV. Alright, now. So, according to the drawing, there should be an O-ring that goes on the front face of that, and there should be an O-ring that goes around there. And this has neither, and neither did the other side. So let's get that disassembled and cleaned up and everything like that first of all. Just get the seal pressed out of it. Just let that drip. Take that out as well. I'm going to want to clean that up. And yeah. Look, whoever was working here before, they were well intentioned, but yeah, I mean, maybe reading a manual every so often might not have done them any harm. Right, given the fact that I'm hoping to go over to VW Spares tomorrow to get some bits, I'm going to take the wheels off the front and have a look and see what situation we're dealing with here inside, because damn. That is not good. Let's get the bolts out. Oh god, the noise. I broke the torque on the wheel bolts while it was on the ground with a breaker bar, because this version of the Ryobi impact gun isn't great compared to the brushless ones, so it doesn't really have the snot to kind of... Oh, Jesus. So I do actually want to invest in a new one. Anyway, right, let's get that off and have a look. Right. So you know the big awkward hub nut to deal with on this side. What we do have to do is just undo. There's a pinch bolt there we have to undo, and then this will pretty much be hand tight. So we'll wind that off, and then that'll allow us to take our drum off and we can find out what the hell is going on in there. Yeah. So as I said, this will be hand tight. That's what it should be. That's why the pinch bolt is what actually keeps it in place. Because this is how you load up the bearing. Just pop that in the grease cap and give this a wiggle. Let's see what falls out of the ground. Aside from a few cobwebs, it's not that bad. Wonder what the issue is here. It's just rust. And again, maybe it's just a case where the brakes need to be adjusted. On this side, anyway, at least we don't have the seal issue that we would have had with the rear axle, because obviously there's no gearbox on this side. So let's get. I'm gonna get a little brush and brush all that out. Spray it down with some brake cleaner and a little dab of copper grease there and there, and we'll adjust everything and see how it's looking then. And hopefully that's all we need to do. I think I used to have a little paintbrush for doing something like stuff like this around the place, but my young lad I think got a hold of it and was out painting the garden wall with it or something like that. God only knows. I like having him out in the garage, but I'm usually chasing after him with my tools and that. So yeah, let's just pop that back on and spin it now and see. Look to be pretty decent as well. Do you know what I think it actually is? I'm just looking on the inside lip here. It's probably actually the backing plate is rubbing off all the crap that's down in there. That would make sense because it is actually kind of fairly corroded in there. So I'm actually going to get a screwdriver and just going to run it around that and clean it out. And hopefully that's all that is. We can get it all back together. Be a handy fix. Alright, so new bearings are going to have to be installed. The reason being, we have a broken roller. Now, why exactly that happened, I'm not 100% sure. I wonder were they over tightened. But in any case, I'm going to get 2 new sets of front wheel bearings for this car. Well, 1 new set of front wheel bearings for this car, and I'm going to do both sides because the other one sounded very grumbly anyway. And yeah, we are not going to be refitting them. And then I'll wipe everything off here as well and get that all squared away. While we're here on this side, we'll take the wheel off here. Obviously I'm going to be getting new tyres for this as well, by the way, but yeah, listen. It doesn't sound too great, does it? Let's get that wheel off first of all. As a classic car enthusiast, everybody should have a Beetle at least once. They really ground you as far as as far as maintenance is concerned. They're a pleasure to work on, to be honest with you. Everything is just easy on them. Although mind you, I am saying that as a man who spent the day this morning anyway, replacing a set of rear discs on a Renault Grand Scenic. I hate Renaults. God almighty, they're heaps of crap. I know Fiat get a bad name, and so do Dacia, and well, Dacia rightly so because they are just a version of Renault. This is a left-hand tread on this side, but yeah, there's other manufacturers that get a bad rap as far as the reliability is concerned, but Renault, they don't get enough of a bad rap. They're just dirt. They stopped being good when they stopped numbering them. Your Renault 5s and Renault 14s and everything, they were great cars. Now they're just crap. Right. Let's see what we're dealing with here now. Yeah. It's clean. All the bits are there. There's the speedo drive. You need a little circuit for that as well because the grease cap was actually coming off on this side. So yeah, new wheel bearing for this side as well, and we Jesus, look at that fella, holy shit, I'm not afraid of spiders, but bloody hell, that's a beast. It's a scary looking bugger. That's the second one of these I'm after seeing in this car. Is that one of those false widows? Get out of my garage, you little bastard. I took a spin this morning over to VW Spares and I got a few bits and pieces. I got the rear hub seal kit and I got a set of wheel bearings for the front, and I also got a drive shaft boot for the inner drive shaft just up by the gearbox. So I'm going to be replacing all those bits, and I also got a clutch pressure plate as well. I already had the friction plate, so I am able to put the engine in as well now, so I have all the bits I need to do that. But we're going to continue on with the brakes and bearings and all that jazz first of all. So I have the drum here on the bench. Obviously one of the drums from the front, and what we're going to do is knock the outer races of the bearings out. Now you don't use a press for this because you need to just catch the shoulders of the bearings and just essentially knock them out with a drift. It's fairly simple actually. You just work from one side to the other. So the vice will allow enough space to get the bearing race out all the way. Now, there we go. So there's the outer race of the outer bearing off. So I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to do exactly the same for the outer race of the inner side. Same process. There we go. And that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out the bore here with a bit of brake cleaner, give it a wipe and make sure everything's nice and clean, and we're going to get our new bearings prepped to go in. There's brake cleaner in this spray bottle. Not window lean. So for reasons that are pretty obvious, the whole assembly needs to be pretty clean. For the first reason is because you don't want to contaminate the bearing. The other reason is because you don't want to contaminate your brake linings. So now let's get the new bearings in. Alright, so we're going with a good quality bearing here. There is no point in buying crap bearings. So let's just get everything out and make a clean spot to put them down in. There we go. Seal and the dust cap are there. This is the inner side being bigger. And what we need to do is we need to put this in first of all. Now, what you can do is you can use the old race to knock the new one in. So just sit that there and just going to gently tap it down. When you hear that tone change, that means it's seated. So that's that one done. So we flip it over and we put our inner race or our outer race for the outer bearing on. So same story. Use the outer race. The old outer race to knock the new one in. Or I can use a suitable size socket or a drift or something like that. But just be careful you don't hit the face of the race. He's a poet and he didn't know it. Oh, got a live one there. Actually, you know what? I have a driver kit for bearings. I'm going to actually try it out and see. So I got this from Wish, I think. So let's see if we can find a suitable size doodly firkins to go down into it. Yeah, see that sits there quite nicely. Although, yeah, see to me that. I don't know. think what I might do is just use it that way around. And you can put the little spud that comes with down the middle, the bigger one. And now that's our bearing driver. Come on. So now that that's firmly lodged in place, I suppose we can flip it over and we can knock it back out from the other side. It worked, in fairness. So now, right, that is the bearing outer races done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get both of the wheel bearings and I'm going to pop them into a bag with some grease. I'm going to grease them up. That will go in there. And that will go in there. So we're going to get our grease in there now. Alright, so nice big gob of grease. Pop it in there with the bearings. I'm going to basically knead them to get all of the grease in between all the rollers. You don't have to use the bag, but it's just less messy. You know what? To hell with the bag. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Alright, so I'm going to pop that in. I'm going to get a bit more grease onto this one. I'm not going to be putting this one on yet, because this one will be going on the outside. You put it on after you put the drum back on the hub. Okay, so I have the seal in with the bearing inside, so that can now go onto the car like this. Just make sure we didn't get any greasy fingerprints on the braking surface. So that's going to go on there like that. And then we're going to get our our inner race of our outer bearing, and we're going to get the nut on, and then we're going to tighten it up, and I'll show you now what we need to do. Okay, so that's all nicely greased up there now, so that'll slip in there like that, and I cleaned my nut, because you need to make sure you have very clean nuts for this job, you know. There's that, another wedge of grease. There's clean and greasy nuts are really what you're looking for. There you go. If you don't make that noise when you're sticking the grease in, you're doing it wrong. There you go. Now, that's the job. Alright, now we're going to put our nut on. You'll see there's a kind of a flat side and a side with a little shoulder on it. The side with the shoulder that actually goes in towards the bearing. What that's going to do is we're going to pull the seal in, make sure everything is in the correct position. Now we're going to get ourselves a 24mm spanner, and we're just going to tighten that up until the bearing just starts to bind. Okay, so that's starting to bind binds there now, and now we're going to loosen it off just a quarter turn. Go a little bit tighter actually. You're kind of just gauging with the amount of play. You don't want too much play. That's the job. Okay, right. So now I am going to tighten up the pinch bolt and get a grease cap on there. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I forgot to put this bloody washer in underneath the nut. So take this off and put it on. I don't know how I managed that. Anyway. I was thinking there was something not right, but I couldn't for the life of me place it. But anyway, this goes on here and there's a slot for it to go down onto. An anti-rotation washer. Kind of important to have, in fairness. I have to say they're nice wheels. One of the things that actually kind of drew me to the car. It's they're 14 inch and not 15 inch. And the tyres are stupidly low profile. So, obviously I'm going to be changing the tyres anyway, but because these ones are in bits. But, yeah, I don't get why anybody would put low profile tyres on a 14 inch wheel on a Beetle. They look like casters. That's more like it. Now we know all the bits are in place. Right, now I'm going to do the other side. I bought this kit down in VW Spares anyway, so it comes with a new gasket, which I'm going to use, and comes with seals, O-rings, and shim washers and all that jazz as well, and it comes with a new split pin and everything for the hub nut. So it's a nice little comprehensive kit, so we're going to use that, and I have the little bearing housing and the seal race, I suppose you could call it, cleaned up and everything as well. I could actually find out the name of it. I've got the manual over here. It is called a number 6 outer spacer. Seal race is a nicer name for it, I think, but anyway. Okay, it's kind of a weird double layer seal that comes with it, but I'm actually not going to use Permatex. I'm going to just put it on dry. And I mean, the fact that there's an O-ring and everything as well there is telling me that it should be alright. So yeah, so there's the first thing to go on. Next thing is our large O-ring. I'm going to put a little bit of schmoo on that just to lubricate it. This is a special type of grease that's used for seals actually on aircraft. So it is ideal for this job. So that's going to go there now. So that's actually holding the O-rings in place, or the gaskets in place as well, which is grand. So next thing is the inner shim, I think it is. Yeah, shim washer. So there's one already on it, so we'll take... There's no one on it. There needs to be one on it, so we'll put one on it. The kit comes with two different size kind of spacers. It's the smaller of the two that we're going to put on at this point. So that's going to go there. So that's number 8. And then the smaller O-ring goes there. Okay. So that goes there apparently, like so. And then number 6 is our, what I call the seal race, or outer spacer. So that's going to go on like that. There's actually a little space there for the O-ring to go into. So that's going to go there like that. That explains, I remember I was asking the question here on the other side there as to what stops the oil from coming past that. Well, the O-ring there doesn't. So now we have 6 outer spacer. Now we need to put our bearing housing together, so I'm going to do that now. So the larger of the two spacers drops in there like that, and now we put our seal on. And again, I'm actually going to just put some of this stuff on it. It's great stuff, and it'll help make sure that the seal isn't going on dry. So that's going to go in there. And there's the bearing housing with the new seal in place. So that's all good to go and ready to fit. So we can now pop this on. It's just going to sit down over that very nicely. And we can get our bolts in. And now we know that that's not going to bloody well leak. I don't have a listing for a torque figure for it, so we're just going to go even tightness around all the way around. So. Alright, Happy days. There we go. So that's that done. So now I can actually get the brake drum back on and get our hub nut tightened up, new split pin and everything as well, and we should be good to go on this side. And then I'll just do the other side. And last thing to do then is to replace that axle boot and stick some oil in the gearbox, and then that's basically the brakes and the seals done. Okay, so we're going to need to adjust those brakes, and I'm not going to bother my arse doing that until I've done the other side as well. Right, there's no time like the present to get the engine in. So I've got the brakes actually all adjusted and everything now as well, so they're all grand. The only thing I need to do is tighten the hub nuts, but we'll do that when it's down on the ground with the engine in it. So let's make a start on that. I've already got the clutch on the engine now and everything as well. I did use the little alignment tool and all that as well to get it right. So yeah, we'll try and sling it in, see how we get on. I have a variable speed drive on the lift, and I may actually end up using that to my advantage, where I can actually slow it down as I'm lowering the car. But let's just push that forward a little bit. Okay. Go down a little bit more. I don't want to go too low because I have to be able to get the bolts onto the engine as well. So now let's try jacking it and see how we go. There you go. Once we're clear of the dynamo pulley, we should be pretty decent at that. Okay. Oh. We really are very, very close at that now. Well, it's on its way in. Just see the bolt holes are lined up. There. I think we're on the splines of the gearbox. We're on the splines now, I think. Okay. Yes. Happy days. I'm going to get the nuts on the bottom because that's pretty much that. And then we can get the awkward bolts in top and then take the jack off. Okay, so I've got 3 of the 4 bolts in. So we're just going to let the weight off the jack. Get that out of the way. And now we'll just tighten up the nuts. And see, now I can get it up on the ramp and I can actually tighten them properly. Well, I'm pleased to report that the engine is now bolted into the car. I've still obviously got a lot of stuff to do to connect it all up, but for the time being anyway, I've just got the wires tied up out of the way, and what I want to do is throw a battery in it and see if it will crank over on the key. So yeah, kind of exciting times. Alright, so battery is now in and connected, and we basically have nothing else connected up with the engine, so it's not going to start, but what we're going to do is see if it cranks over, and if it cranks over, then that's a big win already. So let's see how we go. Happy days. Oh, I love this car. That is so cool. Great stuff. Right, okay, so you know what I'm going to do now, of course, don't you? I mean, in fairness, people who watch my channel at this stage should know well enough. I have to connect up the the coil supply and all that as well, and see if we actually get any life out of the engine in the car. So let's do that. Take that out of there. I was just covering the top of the carburetor. Now, I'm actually just going to disconnect the battery while I fooster around with wire. Well, actually, I can't do that because then I have my meant to test it. Let's see now. I would guess this wire here. I can refer to my own my Blue Beetle over yonder there in a second to see what the story is with the connections. But for the time being, let's hazard a guess. I think that should be our oil pressure. And that should be our coil. And then there'll be all for the dynamo. It looks right. If it looks right, probably is right. To be honest with you, I'm fairly sure it is because of just experience and that. Let's have a look and see if we have an oil pressure light. Yes, we do. Right. Alright, no, it doesn't go out. There again, that could be just down to the state of the wiring, could be grounded somewhere else. So let's see now. Jesus, wiring's not looking too hectic in here now at all. I'm just going to have a look at my Beetle. I think the brown and green wire should be the one for the oil pressure light. I'll have a quick look and see. I can't tell because it's all wrapped up in tested tape. So I'm sure there's a way out. Can't see it. It's probably a little bit low, alright, but should be still building oil pressure. There should be enough to build oil pressure in that. Maybe just get a test light. Test light is just the simplest way of checking for power in places. So, let's turn the key on. Alright, so we're getting our snake eyes on the dashboard, which is what we want. So let's see now, have we got power at the coil? Yes, okay, so the power at the coil. Okay, is this live? No. Is this? No, that's all. That would be for the generator, I suppose. Now, let's have a gander and see now. If I put that on the coil, so what we want to see is, so that's grounded out there, right? I'll throw a little bit more oil in it. That might be all it is. Just for running in purposes, I'm just using this 5W30 I have spare, but I will be changing it out for the 20W50 when I'm kind of ready to, let's say, fully commission the car. To be honest with you, the start motor is turning it over very slowly as well. Could be just the starter's tired, it could be the bushing in the gearbox, which realistically I should have changed what I had about. But look, you can do it without taking the engine out, and I can, if you look at my shorts, you'll see how that's done. Let's see if we get oil pressure now. Yeah, we're getting oil pressure now. Alright, okay, so that's good. So we're getting oil pressure now. So now what I want to do is, I want to run a wire to the carburetor, throw a bit of petrol down the app and see if she kicks over. Right, float bowl is full, coil is connected up, the carburetor is all connected up, so we have an idle circuit and everything there as well. And everything's looking good to give it try starting it. So let's see what happens. I need to just pump the accelerator a couple of times because we haven't got any accelerator linkage. We need to give it a fighting chance. Right, let's give it another shot at fuel. Because obviously, as I said, I can't pump the accelerator. And a good shot down there. Now let's see what happens. Sometimes you crank slowly and other times not. Come on. I think that starter might be a bit the tired side of things. It's a... She's nearly there. It runs. Not well, but it runs. So that's a big plus now. So that's great. Okay, right. Next thing to do is to get everything connected up in the engine bay. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to get the... I have to change the axle boot. I'm going to tighten up the hub nuts now and get the split pins into them. Brakes and bearings and all that are all done. We've now got a running engine, such as it is. A little bit of a tune-up and everything like that required. And then we're good to go. So, I hope you'll join me in the next video where we get this car on the road. So, yeah, I'm really excited about this, to be honest with you. I love Beetles, I just do. I mean, even this little venerable 1200 engine, it's going to be as slow as a wet week, but it'll put a smile on a lot of people's faces, myself included, as you can see. So yeah, we'll catch you then. Please do hit the subscribe button before you go. I really do appreciate it. Helps my channel a lot, and I'll keep the content coming and keep you updated with the progress on this and other projects on the way. So stay tuned. I'll chat to you soon. Thanks for watching. All right, one more go. Already sounds better. Yeah, we'll get there.